Happy Monday and welcome into Cleveland Browns Daily. Nathan Zagura alongside Gibbe today. Bo Bishop spending some time on the Ponderosa with his pops in town, so he will be back with us tomorrow, so we will certainly miss him today. But Gibbe, I got to tell you, it was real nice to have a weekend to just sit around, watch football or not watch football, depending on what you wanted to do with it, but really to be able to just go out there and kind of do whatever it was while knowing the Browns had already won for the week, getting the job done 29-17 over the Steelers.
Of all the primetime games, whether it's Thursday night, Sunday night, or Monday night, and it requires a ton of work on the front end, but Thursday night blows away Sunday night and Monday night. You don't have to wait all day for Sunday. You don't have to wait all weekend for Monday night. I mean, and you get a little mini bye week, and you can't go wrong, man. It was fantastic. It was good to get away, recharge the batteries a little bit.
No doubt.
And now we get into a busy month of October. That all of a sudden, there's a lot of teams with some issues that we're playing over the next 5 weeks.
Chargers have real issues. The Patriots, our next three games. I mean, the Falcons have struggled. They really struggle on defense, although they are coming off of a big win on the road against the Seattle Seahawks, 27-23. We'll talk about that, obviously, as things go on. But there are some issues. Before we move on with the rest of the show, I just wanted to take 1 second and say that while we were all loving what was going on in that game, the Browns beating the Steelers 29-17, our linebacker coach and good friend of this program, Jason Tarver, lost his father. His father passed away, and he tweeted this out. He said, "My hero, my dad passed away during the fourth quarter of our team win on Thursday night." He showed this picture of him from playing baseball as a young man. He says, "I'm the kid on the right with the big ears. My dad grew up in Syracuse. He loved the Browns. Jim Brown, Ernie Davis were his heroes. Help us grind and win here in the land." And also said, "Congrats to the Guardians." So thoughts certainly with Browns linebacker coach Jason Tarver and his family after the passing of his father and his hero at the age of 75 years old. So something we definitely want to give a shout out. It very much is a family here with the Browns, and you get a chance to know these guys as we do, not just the players, but the coaches, and you get to, become friends with them. And so very sad day in that regard for Coach Tarver, and certainly our thoughts are with him and his family out in California and all around the country. So just wanted to make sure we got that in there. But, this was a weekend, Gibbe, that was, as we said, it was nice and it was relaxing for us. By the way, Coach Tarver did share, to lighten the mood, a great story of he got to coach his son's flag football team on Saturday, which he never gets to do. And they won, and he was, so pumped about it. So, that was a cool guy. He got to have a cool father-son moment coming out of that. So certainly, again, thoughts with him. Also, congrats, to his son's team, but also congrats to the Guardians, AL Central Division champions. And that magic number, I was at Spodo's on Tuesday, and I feel like the magic number was
it was 10.
Yeah, and then it's over on Sunday.
Yeah,
which is incredible.
I'm not sure anybody outside of the Guardians organization believed the way that they believed this year.
Oh, they sure did. And by the way, they believed, and they absolutely delivered on that belief. And so, major props to them. Hopefully there's a lot of division titles in this city. I mean, it's possible we could have a clean sweep of them. Cavs look pretty darn good. The Guardians have already done it, and so they would say the ball is in our court, certainly here with the Browns, who right now currently tied atop the division 2-1 with the Baltimore Ravens. But just going back to the weekend, number one, it was so nice. Number two, it is hard to watch. I haven't been waiting all day for Sunday night. Bo's so right, and I know we get to experience this a couple times a year, but watching the 1 o'clock games, I was juiced. I was all in. A lot of fantasy stuff going on, although it felt like a lot of the guys on my team got hurt. Dave Montgomery, and I was feeling really good about him. And by the way, Khalil Herbert comes in and runs for 157 yards and 2 touchdowns as his backup, which would have been him. And so he is, of course, alongside Nick Chubb for a candidate for the ground player of the week. Nick Chubb, third straight week he's been on this list. And also our opponent this week, Cordero Patterson, 141 yards rushing and a touchdown of his own. But, man, it is a long day of watching a lot of football. And quite frankly, the afternoon games, Atlanta-Seattle was the best one. I mean, the Jags blasted the Chargers. The Rams-Cardinals game was gross. And honestly, the Bucks-Packers game was not
awful.
a fun watch at all. And then by the end of Sunday night, they're like, oh, we'll show you 4 o'clock. This is going to be completely. Thank God I had an hour to watch House of the Dragons in the middle because, my goodness, that was
didn't miss a thing.
Awful game. Yeah.
It was Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. 12 points, 14 points, 17 points, 19 points yesterday.
Man. And
rough.
And then there's Justin Herbert, who's playing through the ribs, which clearly affect him. He put up 10 points. The Chargers also lost their Pro Bowl left tackle, Rashawn Slater, with a torn biceps tendon. He is out for the year.
Yeah, that just came down from I think Pelissero or Rapshi,
yep.
one of the two. That's 10 minutes ago.
So he's out. Again, that's the Browns' Week 5 opponent.
And
Week
Bosa's
6,
got a groin.
Week 6, Bosa's got a groin, didn't finish
He was
the game.
having an MRI today. Mac Jones. Now this is the latest update on that. Severe high ankle sprain, timetable TBD.
So he could go on IR, and if he goes on IR, then he would be out for our game, which means we'd be facing
Brian Hoyer or Bailey Zappi.
I think we'd be facing Brian Hoyer.
My thought would be the same, but stranger things have come from Uncle Bill.
Boy, that would just be an incredible situation.
But I mean,
the Browns. So the Browns, if let's just say this is a big theoretical, but if that happens, my guess is if it's a severe high ankle sprain, he probably will go on the IR.
The term used was severe high ankle sprain,
which means like you've broken your ankle.
Without breaking it, you've broken it.
Yes. It would be Week 1, Baker. Week 2, Flacco. Week 3, Trubisky. Week 4, Marcus Mariota. Week 5, Herbert. Week 6, Brian Hoyer. And then Lamar
and by the way,
Burrow.
Justin Herbert has to sign waivers to get injections.
Yeah.
Did you read that whole?
Well, because of what happened with Tyrod Taylor.
It is crazy. I don't know if he should be playing. Period. Right now, but it's not going to heal until the season's over. That whole story was crazy in and of itself yesterday. But the one thing you can't go to sleep on, the Falcons are no longer gutless. I believe someone said that to me on Friday when I called them the gutless Falcons.
Yeah, they're not gutless.
They are not gutless.
Seattle
they can score
is
points.
so bad. Look at Brandon Lynch walking by.
Confidence.
Seattle's defense is so bad. It's wild. One of the biggest stories in the National Football League has got to be the simple fact that Russell Wilson and this Broncos team look abysmal. I mean, they look abysmal. It's really a stunning situation how bad they look. By the way, I'm just taking a look right now, Gibbe, at the scores.
Probably not so great.
No. These scores are electric. I mean, I've hit 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm 7 for 7 right now. I hit the first 7 games.
Well, and Bo wasn't he taking a bunch of the road teams?
We took a bunch together. We had Cincinnati was a big road favorite that we took together. He took Houston, which was looking good, but I took Chicago. Chicago ends up covering that one. He took Kansas City. I took Indianapolis because I said it meant so much to them. We both had Vegas, which was a loss. We both had New Orleans, which was a loss. He had Phil. Oh, I've gone cold now. We both had the Chargers loss. I did have Atlanta. That's a win for me, dog. Tampa, Green Bay. Who won that game? Green Bay by 2.
Green Bay by 2 because Tampa Bay couldn't figure out how to do the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and then
I
started hot, then I went cold.
The play clock was at 20, and it should have been at 25.
Well, I started off hot, and then I went cold. So I started off 7-0, and I now sit at 8-7.
Really?
I lost Vegas. I lost New Orleans. I lost Washington football team, the Chargers. I lost Tampa, Arizona, and the Niners. The Niners should have won that game 100 times over.
Hey, Jimmy G, know where the back of the end zone is.
Oh, my God, that was unbelievable.
That game was so god-awful last night. Waiting all day for Sunday night. Maybe
goodness.
you shouldn't.
No, it put sweet Miss K right to bed. That's for darn sure. She went right to bed. I stayed up and watched it to the end because it was the Niners.
I don't know what's going on with Russell Wilson, but again, if I'm a Denver Bronco fan, I just paid a lot of money to a guy that has not looked well.
Oh, there were some boos, brother.
Until that final drive, which I went back and watched this morning because I was asleep by the midway through the third quarter.
There were some boos.
He did not look good.
I mean, he's missing wide open guys.
Yeah.
Terrible. And they went through it. I mean, it was dreadful. He finished 20 of 33 for 184 yards. He was sacked 4 times. Again, they continue to play this Boone character and Melvin Gordon, which is unconscionable to me. But Jimmy G, man, oh, man.
Jimmy G missed. He had Samuel wide open on a route in the second quarter I saw that he didn't even look his way.
It's wild. It was a wild game of football, but as I said
it was
before,
a wild week 3.
Yes. I mean, the Chargers, how many people, and I know that Herbert, once you saw that Herbert was playing, how many people survivor pools got blown up by the Chargers against the Jags? They lost 18 straight on the road. 18. They snapped that streak. How about the Colts, written off for dead, beat the Chiefs? The Dolphins, are they for real? They beat the Bills. You have a butt punt.
Pretty spectacular, by the way.
The butt punt was spectacular.
It was. The only winless team in the National Football League after 3 weeks.
The Raiders.
Who would have seen that coming, given the talent that they have?
Not me. And you've got, from an undefeated team standpoint,
You got 3.
Yep.
Miami and Philly are both 3-0.
Phillies.
The Giants play tonight. They're 2-0.
Philly is.
After watching Tampa Bay and Green Bay yesterday,
Philly is awesome.
I think Philly's better than both of them so far.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Jalen Hurts was phenomenal. Devontae Smith was phenomenal. It was, yeah. There were some very interesting games as you went around the league, but it was it's just football's awesome. Is really my big takeaway from the day. Football is awesome. There's no doubt in my mind I prefer offensive football to defensive football. There were some crazy hits around the league in this one. You know, now we're investigating the concussion protocol, which I don't know if I've looked in here. Maybe you're going to have this in here about the Dolphins. And we will go around the league and do a little bit more on each of these games. But we've got Jim Donovan coming up at 2 o'clock, the voice of the Browns, so that'll be fun. Nick Shook, 2:30. We've got highlights from the Podium. We've got Stefanski. We've got Jacob Phillips, who now we know, Anthony Walker Jr. on injured reserve, is going to have to play a big role there in that room. And I'll tell you, JOK is banged up. You got to wonder, and these are not scores. These are not scores. But Gibbe, see if you can say what I'm going to say next. You got to wonder if we're going to bring back an old reliable in that linebacker room.
Gentleman that's been with us for a couple of years.
Yeah, Malcolm Smith.
Couple little
not
runs.
Scores, but you got to imagine that's if he's still ready to go. He's played very well for us. He knows the defense. There would be zero acclimation period other than getting his men. They'd be able to ease him back in terms of snaps, but he knows this defense and knows how to play in coverage, which is the most important thing, I think, for a linebacker right now in the National Football League to be able to do.
Or is this the moment for Phillips and Taki?
I think it is the moment, but we're talking depth.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because after that.
You got Fields.
Yep.
You got Kunashik. You got Dakota Allen's on the practice squad, but the guy who comes in right now and knows all 3 positions and has the trust of this coaching staff is Malcolm Smith. If he's
from a leadership standpoint,
no doubt, and knows all the guys in the room. They've all played with him. Phillips has played with him. Taki's played with him. So it makes a lot of sense. Not scores again, but would not surprise me in the least to see that happen if it is able to do if Browns are able to do so. All right, when we come back, we're going to hear from the head coach of your Cleveland Browns. We're going to give you some updates as well on this football team. It's all coming your way. We're off and running on a Monday edition, Cleveland Browns Daily, right here on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Rumpke Waste and Recycling is a family-owned and operated company. Whether you join them as a customer or as an employee, you'll become a part of the family. Visit rumpke.com to learn more. Back to the podium we go. Head coach of your Cleveland Browns, your 2-1 Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski.
User down. It's about 7 minutes.
I think we'll know more as the week goes on. Yeah.
JOK and Caven?
Yeah, I got to get to Wednesday to see where everybody is.
Joel was on the bike. Is that just the biceps that was bugging him?
Correct.
Thoughts on your opponent this week, the Falcons? They seem like they're a team that's scrappy, I would say.
Yeah, I think it's a good team. Well coached, good players across the board. Having watched it this morning and diving into the scheme, I think it's really sound on all three sides of the ball. So it's going to be a big challenge for us.
Jacob a lot, but given this greater opportunity without Anthony, do you think that's something he really embraces and looks forward to?
Yeah, without a doubt. Jacob's a very competitive young man. Played well in the last ball game. We're going to need him to continue to ascend and play and get better and those type of things. But he's definitely somebody that's excited about the opportunity.
Saw Jacoby's confidence level kind of rise, or maybe vice versa. Yours broke with him.
I don't think so. No, I really don't. I think it's a lot of what we see on Sundays or whatever, Thursdays, are the culmination of work. Pretty simple.
You said during the offseason that you made a lot of calls to people about Jacoby, and you're really impressed with some of the things that were said. Is there any conversation that sticks out specifically related to that?
Not anything specific or specific person, Jake, but you call former teammates, former coaches, those type of things, and just get a feel for the person. I mean, when you're looking at any player, there's tape, and you can watch the tape, but that doesn't tell the full story. You got to get to know the person as well.
Was there a through line that everybody kind of said this one specific thing about him? Or there different attributes that they?
No, yeah. Again, I think kind of all the things we've talked about. He's a pro, good teammate. He's been through a lot. He's been in a bunch of different situations like we've talked about.
The experience in strange situations, but were you guys drawn to his demeanor as well? He seems to be the same guy all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good trait to have for a quarterback, backup quarterback, starting quarterback. I think that's good because you do go through so much in this league, week to week, quarter to quarter, those type of things. So I think it's a good trait.
On the field on Thursday, just what did you see, kind of watching it, and how much did kind of that month, he was practicing a lot leading up to it, how much did that help make kind of a seamless transition back?
Yeah, I thought he played well. It looked like the old Jack to me, and he was playing very physical. He's looked good in practice. I mentioned to you guys he's stronger than I think he's ever been. I think he worked so hard this whole off season. So good to see him out there.
Will you make a special emphasis or do anything more on special teams this week to sort of shore some of that up, or is it just business as usual?
Well, I think we need to get better in a bunch of different areas on our football team. There's certainly things that we feel like we can clean up, and that's part of what today was. Really, we had a couple special teams periods out there working on some things, and a lot of it always goes back to technique and fundamentals.
Third downs have been on both sides of the ball. For years, have always seemed to be a problem here, but this year you guys are doing really well on the offensive side, averaging close to 50%, and on the defensive side, you're holding them to below 40%. Just what do you attribute that early success to?
Yeah, I mean, the guys are doing a nice job. You got to be careful on all statistics in a small sample size this early in the season. But, offensively, I think it helps to be in shorter distances. I think that really has been a thing to look at, especially in this last game. But then it just comes down to, I think the guys are operating really well. I think, I don't want to jinx it, but I don't think we had any operational penalties on offense in that game, and I think that is important, and then is even more important when you go on the road like we are this week. And then defensively, in those situations on third down, understanding where they're trying to go with the ball and having a counter to that. So the guys have a good understanding right now on what we're trying to get done.
When you have a drive on Thursday night like you did, that one where you ran 10 times on 11 plays, is deciding to run the ball that much, is it kind of feel? Do you go into the drive thinking this is what we're going to do? How do you balance that?
Yeah, I think, we've mentioned this before. You go into every game trying to run and throw it. You're trying to just any which way move the ball. When you get into a second half situation when you feel like the run game is starting to get close to breaking, a run here or there, you give the guys an opportunity to do that. Having said that, it opens up opportunities in the pass game. So that's where you talk about that marriage of the run and the pass. It's really, they serve each other. And in the situation you're talking about, Dan, I think that the guys were just really coming off the ball. I think that we talked a lot about the physicality of that game. We knew that's what it was going to be, and I think we saw that our guys were really up front, tight ends were coming off the ball. They're all fun. When you're scoring, if it ends in 6+1, they're all fun.
You got with the injury to Walker, do you feel you're down to the kind of the bone at linebacker? You got one on practice. You need to at least find a.
We're talking through all those things, Tony. I think that's the nature of the NFL. As we all know, you get into certain weeks and you're all of a sudden you felt good about your depth, and the next thing you know, you're out 2 guys, whatever it may be. So we'll continue to look at those type of things. But the guys that are here are getting a ton of reps, feel very comfortable with the group that we have.
Chester Rogers, he passed the audition.
I thought he did a nice job in some tough conditions the other night.
Back in 30.
So overall did a nice job. We'll see where we go this week.
Deactivate Dimitrik on Thursday. What was kind of behind that? Yeah,
wanted to give Chester an opportunity as the punt returner there. That was for that week. We'll see if that's the direction we go this week. But Dimitrik's a good football player. He's going to make a bunch of plays for us this season.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns head coach Kevin Stefanski at the podium. Some updates for this Browns football team on what we saw out there. Back practicing, Jedrick Wills was a little bit banged up and missed a few snaps against Pittsburgh, but did return to that game. Browns left tackle was practicing today, as was safety Ronnie Harrison, who, remember, was a late scratch, injured in the pregame warm-up. Good news is not a significant injury, and he is back for the Browns. And he's somebody that, especially against a team like this, with a tight end like Kyle Pitts, a team that will run a lot of 2 tight end looks, you like to have the option to have that big nickel, and Ronnie Harrison certainly fits that bill for the Cleveland Browns. So good news that he is back. Not out there at all in any way, shape, or form today for the Browns, Jadeveon Clowney and defensive tackle Taven Bryan. And Taven Bryan has been very good for the Browns. He's second on the team in pressures so far this season, so that's a big one and one certainly to monitor.
And that was one that it happened in the game, but in the moment, like maybe you didn't realize it or you didn't know the severity of it, and then it's just like, oh, wait, he did get hurt. Because everybody remembers the Walker one, and
yep,
when JOK, suffered what he suffered, and you're just kind of like, oh, yeah, I forgot about Taven Bryan. But you're right. Bryan's been playing really, really well for this football team.
Yeah, if you go in on kind of the full season look at it for the Cleveland Browns, you go into the defensive side of the ball. Right now, here's your team leaders. You've got 15 pressures, Myles Garrett, and the 3 sacks. Then it's Taven Bryan with 8, and then Anthony Walker with 8. And we know Anthony Walker on injured reserve now. Then Jadeveon Clowney with 6. And so that's a big, Taven Bryan has been playing good football for this team, and certainly in his ability to get around and disrupt the quarterback, that's something to keep an eye on. JOK's had such a phenomenal year so far for the Cleveland Browns. He is out. The groin kept him on a bike, and then Bitonio with the bicep, but Joel Bitonio should be good to go. The thing is that, Kevin Stefanski said we're not ready to rule anybody out at all. We'll have to see how this thing progresses, but you want to be healthy here. And look, this is something that everybody in the NFL is dealing with, honestly, but you hope to be able to go into Atlanta at full strength and be able to go ahead and put your best foot forward and get to that 3-1 number that we had talked about so much for these first 4 games. All right, when we come back here on Cleveland Browns Daily, we will go around the NFL. We'll talk about some of the games from Sunday, take a look specifically at the AFC North games, and much, much more. But don't forget, there's a new way to cheer on your Cleveland Browns with the help of your favorite four-legged companion, Barking Backers. Presented by Milk-Bone is the Browns' newest club for pet parents worldwide. Sign up today at barkingbackers.com. Barking Backers, the fan club for dogs. Around the league coming up next. Don't forget, still to come, 2 o'clock. On the Twisted Tea Hotline, the voice here, Cleveland Browns' Jim Donovan. Plus, we're going to hear from new starting Mike linebacker Jacob Phillips. And then Nick Shook joins us from NFL.com at 2:30. So a lot still to come here on Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back in to Cleveland Browns Daily. And apparently, Gibbe, tomorrow when Bo returns, but we'll wait for Wednesday, Gibbe, but we got some news about the show.
I believe we have a sponsor.
Oh, baby.
I believe we have a sponsor.
That's
we
right.
have a hotline sponsor, now the show sponsor.
About time. Let's go. I love it.
It's a good thing. Working hard.
It is a good thing. We are working hard, and so are our great salespeople, and it's happy to have people on board. We'll be able to share more details with you very shortly, so I am excited about that. All right, let's start. First of all, Gibbe, did you over the weekend take any time to make anything, any meals of food or anything like that the people should know about?
No, my fabulous wife booked us a nice little Airbnb in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, baby.
A little bit south of Toledo and Perrysburg.
Okay.
So between Toledo and like Bowling Green.
Okay.
In a place that it was called Waterville.
Okay.
And just outside of Waterville is a place called Grand Rapids, Ohio.
So this was a romantic getaway.
Well, she got us a little cabin right on the Maumee River. Like literally the backyard was the Maumee River.
That's so cool.
It was awesome. It was great. They allowed the dogs, so we took the dogs with us. And then we were kind of like looking up things to do. Like we're getting excited. You know, it's like, what trouble can we get into? Because my wife is pretty good at that.
For sure.
And she found us. There was a festival going on in downtown Waterville. They had an outdoor beer garden and bands playing all afternoon. Okay.
It's like they knew you were coming.
Right on the water.
Yeah.
What am I going to do?
You're not going.
Yeah. Walked around, took the dogs back home, then went and watched Ohio State. And that game lasted approximately 21 minutes. And
yeah,
and I think I might be generous at that.
Poor Hoff.
So
rough showing.
Not great. So we ate out. It was. I mean, we had the opportunity. We could cook it.
Sure.
Cook there, and
it's hard to go grocery shopping in a store you don't know and all that.
If you're there more than like 48 hours,
sure,
and there's more than just two of us, fine. But otherwise,
let's go enjoy the wares.
Yeah, we found some great little gems and some good eats and
how fun, dude.
All right, and you were telling me about this. I saw your wife on Instagram post some things.
Yeah, she posted. So she posted the stew, but then she also the next day like made a little stew hash covered with a little fried egg, which she was very pleased about for brunch yesterday. So yeah, I don't know why, but you know, I wake up and one of the first things I think about is like, all right, what am I going to make for dinner that night? And I get very excited about it. And so on Saturday, I knew we were going to stay home. We had Bryce. Arden was out babysitting. So
good for her. She's getting the babysitting under the wings.
Oh yeah, she's crushing it. It's just the only part. It's hard for me. We don't get to see her as much because she's always got either plans or babysitting.
Yes.
And
getting older.
I know it's not as cool anymore to hang out with the old daddy, but that's all right. So I don't know, but I was like, I woke up and I was like, you know what I want? I always had a taste for lamb, so I was like, I want to make a lamb stew.
Ooh.
And so I looked up and I found this great kind of like a French recipe, and you know, it's nothing fancy. It's very much it's a stew. It's got some. It would have the meat. It would have a bunch of garlic, onion, carrots, little celery. That was my own ad right there. Bunch of mushrooms, red wine, beef broth, and then I cooked it in the did everything in the Dutch oven. But at first, just kind of sauteed everything.
Sure.
And I got some duck fat to saute the meat in, so I was pumped about that. So that added another depth of a flavor. And then you're able, a bunch of herbs and spices and whatnot, and then in the oven for like 2 hours in the Dutch oven at like 325 after everything was like going. And it was amazing. But I wanted some lamb, and with everything going on, supply chain issues, this, that, whatever, there was no lamb. Like 3 different places, my 3 go-to places for lamb. None of the Heinens had them. And then I called a couple other places. Nobody had any of the lamb because you need like leg of lamb, a boneless leg of lamb, or you need like lamb shoulder for like the stew meat. But they did have veal. And I was like, I guess we're going to make a veal stew then because why not? That sounds cool.
Absolutely.
It was amazing. I think the lamb stew would also be good because lamb definitely has its own like the gamey flavor. But I can't wait to make this again. I can't wait to make it again with lamb. It was awesome. Like I had it, and then I had it for brunch the next day. It went great with a Bloody Mary.
But what you missed was the fried egg on top.
That was all for her. Listen, that was.
I feel like
she
you
got
missed
to
the
have
boat
it.
on this.
Blame my preschool. I went to this preschool, and they would make me eat a hard-boiled egg every single day. And, like, they would make me sick.
I know, but like a
I know
fried
it's
egg,
different. I know it's different, but it's just
different.
like an egg is an egg to me. Like, and listen, I tried one. Vince Conti made me at his dad's house try an egg or sandwich because, like, no, you don't get it. This is the best thing ever. It was like, some like
I don't know about that.
bread and a fried egg. It was like a fried egg sandwich that they like loved. And I was like, yeah, I took a bite. I was very nice. I'm like, yeah, not for me. It's just not for me. Eggs themselves are not for me. But that's okay. They're for a lot of people.
2 eggs over easy over some homemade biscuits and gravy Saturday morning.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure you're loving it.
I needed something to coat,
you would have liked
coat
this,
the tummy.
You would have liked this stew, I'm telling you. Oh, and there were potatoes in it, obviously. Some red skin potatoes.
You do, okay, red skin, like chopped up, small?
Like cut, like small ones cut in half. They're
Perfect.
like, I tried to get ones that were like all about, like real small. I'm telling you what, it was bonkers. Like, I couldn't believe how good it was. I was like so pumped. Like 2 cups of wine, 4 cups of beef broth, the fresh thyme. If I do lamb, I'll put some fresh rosemary because I have my own rosemary bush. Oh, love it. Can't get enough.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I like, and that, trust me, if I'd been home, in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah. You'd be all over it. You'd be all over it.
I'm a big fan of the whole cooking.
Oh, my God.
Griddle would have gotten used. Maybe a little grill, maybe a little smoker. Everything outside.
It sounds delightful. And then, though, Sunday night, I like to do this in football season. It's weird. Sunday night, I love Chinese food only in football season.
Only in football season?
I mean, I like Chinese food all the time, but, like, I don't really get it. We don't get Chinese food very often. But on a Sunday night in football season, it's like the best. I love it. It's the best.
What's the go-to?
Which place?
No, like
orders.
What's the order?
Yeah. Always a mushu pork, pot stickers. I love a wonton soup for sure because it's got pot stickers basically in the soup. Always a mushu. Sometimes a noodle, but no noodle last night. A beef with broccoli. Kayla, I'd never had before, and you're going to be like, what? I'd never had orange chicken before.
Really?
But we got it without the breaded meat because you want bread meat. So we got orange chicken last night and then a Szechuan prawns, which was delightful.
Orange chicken's pretty good.
It is good. It's such a different taste from everything else, though, so that it's hard to like. I like to put it all in like kind of one bowl and mix everything around, but it needs to be eaten totally separately. But it was very good. It was good.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, it was good.
I love Chinese food.
Weekend. Me too. Now I gotta go get in the gym right after the show.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah, well, be well. I love you, Gibby.
I'm fine.
I know.
Great. Nothing to see here.
Good. Yeah, well.
At least that's what the docs keep telling me.
Yeah, exactly. All right, some news from around the NFL. The NFL announced this morning that it's replacing the Pro Bowl with a flag football game and a series of skills competition dubbed the Pro Bowl games. Duh. How long have we been saying this for?
Ever.
It's great.
Ever is the answer. I find it interesting, though, that it's going to be Peyton Manning and Omaha Productions kind of spearheading this. This could go in a number of different directions, I feel like.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, first of all, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be great to see. And it says, feature events that showcase players in football and non-football skills spanning entire week. Like, I'd love to watch an NFL player dunk contest. I'd love to see that. That would be great. I'd love to see quarterbacks throwing, kickers doing the stuff that they can do with the ball. I'd love to see all this stuff. I think it's great. I love it. I'm all in. That has increased my excitement for the Pro Bowl in general and that week like 100-fold.
Yeah, well, and now, and I thought Peyton said it best. I read a quote from him this morning in the release, and it was just, it's a great time to honor players, and it's an opportunity for the players and their families to go somewhere and be recognized. And you still want to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
So, give them the opportunity. This is an opportunity for everybody to get together, for everybody to compete in something.
Yes.
And just to have a good time.
And I think they're going to have fun.
Yes.
That's what I think. I think everybody involved is going to I think it's a huge win. It's a huge one. Much like the NBA All-Star game, half of the fun is what's going on before that, right? Like it's what's going on, to make it 3 points, dunks, the skills challenges, all of that. The stuff that goes on around it, I think that's what's so cool. I'm into that. That's what I'm all about.
Give me a little beer pong.
Absolutely.
Let's go with some games of Let's go with some darts.
Some
Let's go
beer pong. I love it.
ESPN Ocho type games.
Because you see these people compete, and they will compete, and they're going to love it.
Yes.
It's going to be so fun. Yeah, I'm all in on that. I think this is a massive, massive win for the NFL. Massive win for the NFL.
Yes.
All right, let's go through the slate yesterday real quickly because I know we got a lot of stuff to get to here on today's program, but we'll go through yesterday real quickly. Early games, we'll start with, in our division, Baltimore 37-26. Big news, the Mac Jones injury. Lamar Jackson continues to be spectacular. 218 passing, 4 touchdowns, ran for 107 and a touchdown. J.K. Dobbins made his return, 7 carries, 23 yards, 2 catches, 17. Mark Andrews continues to be a force. So Lamar Jackson threw 27 targeted passes yesterday. 13 of them went to Mark Andrews. 8 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Not too shabby.
No, not too shabby.
Good fantasy day if you have them.
Yes. On the other side for New England, one thing that's interesting about our matchup potentially with Baltimore, New England ran all over them. 28 carries, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns on the ground. Mac Jones threw for 321, but threw 3 picks before getting injured. Devontae Parker, 5 for 156. But fantasy-wise, Ramondre Stevenson, guy that I was big on as a little bit of a sleeper. Is he overtaking Damian Harris? He did in this game. So that's something to keep an eye on that there.
But, I mean, the story now becomes Mac Jones. And how
100%.
long is he out for?
It says a while. He's hoping to avoid surgery is the latest.
The story
that's being
continues
said.
to evolve
Yes.
here, and none of it's positive if you're a New England fan.
No, when you say I'm hoping to avoid surgery, it means that surgery could potentially be on the table. And if that's the case, he's obviously out for a while. But this feels like a 4 to 6 week injury. If it is a 1 to 3 week injury, if he misses the next 3 games, then he would miss the game with the Browns. But even so, it would be, my guess would be if he were to play against the Browns, he would be coming back like that week.
Yeah. Yep, definitely something to watch here. Ravens continue to impress.
Yep, they do.
And it's
listen,
right now.
They could be 3-0. They much like we did. They absolutely let one get away, and they're 2-1. And then the Bengals in our division got their first win of the season. Burrow, 23 of 36, 275, 3 touchdowns. Tyler Boyd, 4 for 105 and touchdown. T. Higgins had 5 for 93 in the first half, got knocked out of the game on an insane hit, and then was able to come back and did well. Jamar Chase scored 6 catches, only 29 yards, though that's odd. For the Jets.
He had a fumble, I think, in the game, too.
He did. He lost a fumble. For the Jets, Flacco, 285, 2 picks, no touchdowns after throwing 4 against the Browns the week before that. Tyler Conklin, 8 for 84, the tight end. And then Garrett Wilson had 10 targets, 6 catches, 60 yards. Breece Hall, 6 targets, 11 targets, 6 catches, 53 yards. Breece Hall, when they turn it over to him, that's a guy who I think, we're going to be talking about him in the last 8 games of the season as a fantasy stud. Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Patience. Put him on your bench. Just leave him there.
Leave him there. But I do believe that the time is coming. Yeah.
Well, there were 2 things in the Jets game. Did I see correctly the defensive lineman for the Jets?
I don't know what was that.
Coach
yeah.
there?
Have we heard anything more about that?
No, have not heard anything more. Was it Quinnen Williams?
Quinnen Williams and their D-line coach.
Yeah.
And Quinnen Williams looked like he was like, I'm going to
And the D-line coach was like, let's go. You want to get it on? Let's go. He did not back down.
No, but it was
And then
crazy.
Did Burrow get into it with his QB coach or OC or something?
That I didn't see. That I did not see.
I thought I saw something about that as I was prepping here today.
Yeah. Yeah, that I did not see. I know that he had a very solid game and a solid win. So that's what happened in the AFC North. We can talk about some more stuff around the league as the show goes on, but we'll take a quick break and then hit Kareem Hunt up before we get.
I believe actually Jacob Phillips will hear from.
Okay, we'll hit Jacob Phillips next. Then 2 o'clock, Jim Donovan, 2:15. Potentially Kareem Hunt, 2:30, Nick Shook. So loaded up for you kids here on a Monday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Well, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Nathan Zagura, Jason Gibbs with you. And with the unfortunate injury to Anthony Walker Jr., it was time for Jacob Phillips to step up, and he did so against the Pittsburgh Steelers, had the team's lone sack, had a big PBU later to force a field goal, and was really all over the field. Well, they're going to need Jacob Phillips to be all over the field a lot going forward, as he is now the starting Mike linebacker for your team, coming off a game in which he led the team in tackles against the Steelers with 7. As I mentioned, he had the sack, a tackle for a loss, a pass defense, and a quarterback hit. Phillips now moves into prime time, and he spoke with the media earlier today.
How tough is it?
You guys are down this 5 minutes.
Very tough. Obviously, in our room, we're really like on the team. We held him in high regard, and he was a great teammate. Obviously, when you lose good players on your team, it's like you wish it wouldn't happen, but play football long enough, injuries are gonna happen, and he'll get through this, and prayerfully, and we just gonna keep going.
And it sounds like Jake Green to take the green dot over, so making the calls.
Mm-hmm.
Have you already talked to Anthony about maybe some nuances of that? Like, how prepared do you feel to be able to make all the calls and everything?
Yeah, so I've been, every time you see me in the game, since my rookie year, I've had the green dot. So it's like really nothing new. So I had the green dot last game, every game. And I've obviously gained different things, how to, I guess, best, just do it, efficiently. And, it's just a part of it, another task that you add on. But, I like it.
Is it hard to hear?
It was loud. It was loud in the stadium. The fans was yelling this past Thursday night. But you just kind of calm yourself, listen real hard, and then, just regurgitate it out.
Training camp, you spoke about this being your year, stay healthy, show everybody what you can do. Now there's this opportunity, so you feel everything's going according to, other than the injury, everything's according to what you wanted.
Yeah. I've been very blessed and very fortunate, this training camp and the start of the season, just remaining healthy and, just want to keep going, getting better every week. I feel like I've done that and just keep putting it all together and trying to help my team the best I can.
Obviously, the circumstance isn't what you wanted, but how excited are you to get that more playing time that you're going to get from here on out?
Very excited. Always, take advantage of every opportunity you get because you never know when's the day that, you may be sit down. But, it's going to be good. I'm going to have fun with it. I love the game. I love the team. I love, everything that we have. So it's going to be a whole lot of fun.
What do you still think you need to, or is there anything you still think you need to prove or show, whether it's to your teammates or the league, just about you as a player?
Just keep playing, keep hustling, keep, being there for my teammates, keep being reliable, and, it's going to all come together.
What did you like better, the sack or the tip on
the pass effect? Definitely the sack, being right there and, being able to celebrate in front of the fans. You live for those moments, so, won't play anymore.
Obviously, JOK didn't practice today and didn't finish the game. Are you worried about the depth at that position without possibly two of your guys?
Nah, not at all. Because, in our room, we all preach that, we need everybody. And I feel like everybody, we got really good coaches. We got really good players. I feel like everybody in there can, step up to the plate, when they called upon. In the game, Tony came in, made a play. Taki moved the nickel wheel, did good. So, I feel like, we very well coached in our room. Everybody gets the same coaching the whole time. We all get reps in practice. So, obviously we're going to miss him for sure. But, I feel like I'm confident in my guys. Though.
Did you think those two plays I mentioned were a good example of your range? You blitzed on one and you covered pretty deep on the other.
Yeah. I think it's just a testament to athletically, what I can do. And, just when you get that confidence, you play loose, play fast, and, just put it on tape.
Do you think this Browns team is surprising some people? I mean, the whole offseason drama thing, a lot of people probably thought the Browns were going to have a rough start, 2-1, should be 3-0. Do you think you're surprising people right now?
That would be for y'all to decide. As a player here, we keep our blinders on. We stay focused. all things we really, taking into account is, what's said in the locker room. And, so we trust each other. We're going to fight for each other. We put in the work and the hours in the off season with each other. And, we just got one goal on Sunday.
30.
What are some of the challenges of defending a quarterback like Mariota who likes to move around a lot?
Yeah. Obviously he's a scrambler. He's an experienced quarterback. He's seen different defenses before. They have an explosive offense. So, it's just going to be, everybody playing sound, everybody, going key to key.
10.
Run game, and just, us just doing our job.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns linebacker Jacob Phillips. When we come back, we're kicking off hour number 2 in style. The voice of the Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan, joins us here. It's Cleveland Browns Daily on ESPN 850 WKNR Cleveland. fans, be sure to stop by the free Twisted Tea Tailgate pregame party prior to every home game. Twisted Tea Tailgate is located on the west side of First Energy Stadium and combines the atmosphere of a beer garden with live music and food and drink options. The tailgate opens 4 hours prior to kickoff and is open to fans with a ticket to the game. And with that, we go on to the Twisted Tea hotline and welcome in the voice of your 2-1 Cleveland Browns, Jim Donovan. Jim, thanks for joining us here today. How was the weekend? Free of football, unless you chose to sit down and watch some of that out there on the Ponderosa.
I have to admit, I did plant myself yesterday. I was very interested to watch New England, Baltimore, and the battle between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. So Saturday, no, I was out doing things, had a great day Saturday, great time Saturday night. But yesterday I was kind of intrigued to watch what was going on around the landscape of the league because, you know, we're kind of zoned in on what's going on here, and you want to see what's going on out there in the as far as the rest of the NFL. So I got a pretty good picture of it yesterday.
You certainly did, and you started to mention Baltimore, New England. That was a game I was able to watch a lot of on Sunday. Lamar Jackson continues to impress. 218 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, ran for 107 and a touchdown. That was a fun game to watch. A lot of back and forth, a lot of drama. It looked like the Patriots were going to have it, and then they gave it back away. But what jumped out to you about our AFC North foe, the Baltimore Ravens?
Well, it's amazing because Lamar Jackson at any point in the football game, even if it's a bumpy segment of the game for Baltimore offensively or just overall offensively or defensively, how he can just grab the game and kind of take it over himself individually, get a big first down, get a game-breaking type run, and get them back into the end zone, whether he does it or he throws a pass. His passing game has really improved through the years as you watch him. I mean, he is definitely much better of a thrower of the football than he was when he first came in, where he was really a guy that ran, that could sometimes throw. But the other thing that impressed me, and I would hope that the Browns could do this, if you noticed yesterday, Baltimore's defense, you know, at times got pushed around a little bit by New England, but they always came up with big turnovers. They had the big interception in the end zone. They had the big knockaway by Kyle Hamilton on the play to Aguilar that seemed like it had the Patriots down the field. And I think that's the one thing that's missing, you know, from the Browns defense right now is they're unable to get turnovers. And as, you know, we mentioned on the air the other night, you brought it up, you know, there have been a ton of balls on the ground in the way of fumbles, but we haven't been able to capture those. And we have the interception by Delpit. And I know, you know, Denzel Ward got that fumble recovery at the game, but that's kind of a fluky play. I think that they would really help themselves, Nathan, because Baltimore did yesterday by coming up with turnovers. If that faucet could get turned on, because I know that's how it starts, really. Seems like all of a sudden in one game you get 4, and then things start going.
Yeah, that's how the formula the Browns used to beat Cincinnati in Cincinnati last year. They got the pick 6 early, and then all of a sudden it's, you know, 3 turnovers later, you've got a nice, comfortable win. But you're right, 3 interceptions for that Ravens defense, and they were also able to get a fumble on that one. So 4 takeaways from them. And even go back and look at the Ravens against the Jets. They were able to get takeaways in that game. And so you're right. I think that's a very important thing that the Browns defense needs to be able to do. Now, the big news coming out of this game from a Browns perspective, the injury to Mac Jones, says he will miss significant time with that high ankle sprain. And now you have to wonder, is Mac Jones the quarterback of the Patriots when they come here in a few weeks?
Well, it could be another homecoming. It could be. We had Mitch Trubisky the other night. We could have Brian Hoyer coming back in. I mean, he seems like he might be the next guy up. The kid that they have, is it Zappy? Is that his name, Zappy? The kid from
that's their third stringer.
Third quarterback. Yeah. I know he played a lot in the preseason, but I don't know if they're you know, ready to elevate him. You know, Mac Jones is he had such a great game against us last year. I mean, that's probably his best game of the year last season, came against us, where he threw everything and they caught everything that he threw, and he had a great ball game in that blowout. So, that's going to be a big factor. That could be a real death knell to their season because, you know, I think that they need him to play well, and there were parts of the game yesterday where he was playing well and they were in the lead or very close to the lead. But if he misses a significant amount of time, I would think that would be a major problem for them. And if they came here and he wasn't playing and Brian Hoyer was in there as a quarterback, I love Brian, but I mean, I think that the Browns would definitely, have a better time defending against him rather than Mac Jones.
Hey, you're exactly right. Talking with the voice of the Browns, Jim Donovan. So we go around the AFC North hoping for a little bit of help there. We didn't get any from the Patriots. We did not get any from the Jets. And so the Jets have now, who opened basically just in our division, they beat us, but they have lost to both the Ravens and now the Bengals 27-12. And it looked like Joe Burrow kind of got his mojo back throwing the football.
Yeah, he did. I don't know about you. That's a difficult game for me to even look into and watch because of what happened the week before. It's just hard to still swallow the fact that the Jets got the better of us or we got the better of ourselves or whatever. But that was. I think that Cincinnati certainly at some point, and definitely that was the right game for them yesterday to get going once again and get themselves going and get Joe Burrow going. I mean, that's too talented a team to be looking at 0-3. Which is really a bad way to be. I mean, you don't want to be the Raiders today at 0-3, and the Bengals certainly didn't want to be there. There's a lot of football left for them. There's a lot of talent on that team. But it really kind of tells you that the division is really wide open. You know, Nathan,
That's
everybody was talking at the beginning of the season about all these super teams. Buffalo super team, Kansas City still that kind of team, Cincinnati, super team, Chargers. And, everybody's having their own little problems in some way. The real surprise is Miami being at 3-0 right now.
It is, and they've done it beating the Ravens. They've done it beating now the Buffalo Bills in a dramatic game. It featured the first ever butt punt. You had it for a safety. You had a bunch of crazy things going on in that one. But you're right, and Denver has looked dreadful, frankly, even though they've found ways to win, their last two, and honestly probably should feel like they should be 3-0 after the loser in the opener in Seattle. But this AFC, and we're starting to see injuries, and our opponent in Week 5, the Chargers, Herbert's clearly not 100%. They lose their great left tackle for the season, Rashawn Slater, and then Joey Bosa goes out with a groin injury, so you wonder how long he will be out. But it is wild to see, I think, this AFC, just everybody kind of beating everybody up because there is a lot of talent, certainly, in this conference.
It really is, and I think that that's probably the way it's going to play out, that you can beat anybody on a particular Sunday, especially if health-wise you go into a game and you're okay and you can get through that game and you're not losing significant people. I mean, we're not only talking about quarterbacks getting dinged up but we're talking about offensive linemen. And really, I mean, as we saw last year, when your offensive line gets banged up, I mean, the Browns' offensive line is a great unit. But when you start subtracting from that unit one by one, and a guy can't practice, can't play on a Sunday, it really changes everything that you can do. It changes all of your plans, your game plan. And I think a lot of teams are getting hit with that, just 3 weeks into the season. So it really is wide open. I mean, you take a look, Nathan, what a difference Doug Peterson has been going into Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, they just look, just so different than the way they looked last year with Urban Meyer as their coach. And, I think some people rather too quickly were saying, I don't know, Trevor Lawrence, he may not be what everybody thought he was going to be. He looks every bit what, a lot of people think he's going to be right now. And just with some organization and some sound coaching, things turn around.
It's incredible. And one of the stats that I came across today while, just kind of going through things and getting ready, and I did watch that game, and Lawrence was phenomenal. Here's this is from Warren Sharp of Sharp Football. In the wins of more than 21 points by the Jacksonville Jaguars from 2018 to 2021, 65 games, they won by more than 21 points 0 times. In 2022, they've already won twice by more than 21 points. Just a stunning turnaround, and it shows how much coaching matters and also getting, Trevor Lawrence in a situation that is healthy and positive for him, and they're playing phenomenal football. I mean, that was a beating from the opening bell against the Chargers.
Yeah, it really was. And if you go back that one year where they were like 3.5 minutes away from going to the Super Bowl and they're in Foxborough and they're beating the Patriots, remember that was a great defensive Jacksonville team. I mean, that was a team that if they were going to get there, they were going to get there by defense, and they almost did that day. They really had Tom Brady pretty bottled up throughout most of that afternoon until finally, he got loose. and the Patriots squeaked by. But that was not an offensive. That was not an offensive juggernaut. That was Leonard Fournette.
That's right.
And a great defense.
It certainly was. All right, let's go back to Thursday because it's kind of crazy to think that it was only 8 days ago we had that game against the Jets. It feels to me like it's almost been a week since we played the Steelers, but what did happen Thursday night, First Energy Stadium, 29-17. I thought it was a tremendous environment that night, and the Browns showed a lot of resilience coming off of that collapse to come back and get a huge win over a division rival.
Oh, it was. There was some tension, I think, walking into that stadium. I mean, how were they going to react to what had happened, a real collapse in the last minute 55 from the previous Sunday? And they came out, and I thought offensively they were really good all night long. And for a lot of people that said going into the season, you know what, maybe Kevin Stefanski should give up calling plays and just be the head coach and turn it over to Alex Van Pelt. And I don't have any lack of confidence in Alex Van Pelt, but I have to tell you something. Kevin Stefanski is really setting up and putting together and then implementing some tremendous game plans.
Yes.
Their construction of their running game and what they're doing with that running game and getting the most that they can, squeezing everything they can out of those two running backs, it is really something to watch. It's beautiful to watch, really. And Jacoby Brissett's been amazing. I mean, he really has. Whereas we thought we were going to have to put a bib around him and kind of spoon-feed him, to get him through these games, waiting for Deshaun Watson. That isn't the case at all.
No, and he's made big throw after big throw. He's been brilliant the last 2 weeks. What's kind of surprised you about Jacoby, or what has kind of stood out to you as being like eye-opening about his performances, certainly in the last 2 home games?
Well, not that I watched a lot of him in his previous years in the NFL. I mean, he was a good story. I remember when he came in and he played for Brady when he was suspended in New England. I remember when he beat the Browns in Indianapolis. But I really, didn't follow him a great deal. I mean, I knew of him. I just think the week-to-week improvement and the fact that he just runs the offense. And I know that Kevin speaks of this, and everybody else that has coached him says that he's really a coach's dream because he just wants to do what you want him to do. And I think that they feel that they have a good offensive game plan each week. All right, go out and run it. And he does, and he runs it very, very well.
Yeah.
He doesn't really put the ball in peril at all. When he needs to make a play, he makes a play, a la all those quarterback sneaks, which we couldn't do a year ago because of the physical injuries to Baker Mayfield. But I just think watching him grow into it, I think it's a great marriage right now. I think that this offense, he likes it. He feels comfortable with it. They feel very comfortable with him, and that's been long-standing, going back to the offseason when they wanted to get him in the first place. So I think the thing that impresses me the most is just what a great leader he is. And, he's a big, tough guy out there that can really, when you need it, he can get you the 6 inches of the yard in a critical point in the game. After all, quarterback sneaks are usually a very critical play, believe it or not.
Yeah, they're always for conversions. They are always very important. And, he right now is one of the best. Somebody was telling me the other day, I think he is 35 for 36 in his career. And I know we already have, I think, six first downs due to his quarterback sneaks. Heck, he almost ran one in from 11 yards on a quarterback sneak in that game against the Steelers. You mentioned in the afternoon Brady and Rodgers, which was an interesting game. I don't know. I wouldn't call it an exciting game per se if you like offensive football, but going on at the same time, our opponent this week, the Atlanta Falcons in Seattle, looking for their first win, which they got in a game that actually was fairly dramatic, 27-23. And this is a team that on paper does not look great, but Marcus Mariota can be efficient as a quarterback. Cordero Patterson's running the ball very well, and then you've got 2 giants in Kyle Pitts and Drake London. So kind of an interesting offense that was on display there in this 27-23 win over Seattle.
Yeah, I agree with you. And the thing is, Nathan, I think Arthur Smith is another guy that probably doesn't get enough credit for being a really good offensive mind.
Yes.
I mean, I remember when he came in as the offensive coordinator, and I think the game against the Browns that year in the opener might have been his first game as the offensive coordinator, first regular season game.
I wish he didn't have that screen pass on his play sheet down that day, Jim.
That's right, 75 yards.
That's right.
But I really think that he's like our guy. I mean, I think that they do a great job with the offense. So I think that he probably takes a look at Marcus Mariota, who he had in Tennessee, and says, okay, let's make this work. This is how we're going to do it. Just follow me and what I'm calling and have trust in me, and I'll get you into the right call. And I think that's what they're doing right now. And as you said, they have enough of the components of playmakers out there that they can score some points. So, yeah, this looks like a very, very, tough test. Good test for the Browns on Sunday to get to that magic number of 3-1. I know everybody looked at the first 4 games of this season and said, all right, in a perfect world, 4-0, okay, but we didn't get there. But 3-1 would be, the magic number, so we can get there with a road win on Sunday. And but I don't think we can waltz in there and just think, same old Falcons of the last few years. Looks like they're on the rise a bit.
They are. It is going to be a tough game, and as we know, the weather going on down in Florida, and we hope everybody stays safe down there, will make its way up to Atlanta around the time that we go in there on Saturday. So, Jim, knowing that you're the kind of flyer that I am as well, I'm sure you're going to be checking the weather, making sure we're not flying any crazy winds or anything of that nature.
Oh, I know, and it's only Monday. I'm going to have to follow the track of this thing the entire week.
Yes, hopefully. Look, if we have to have a white knuckler at some point this weekend, I trust them to get us on the ground safely, and then maybe Sunday can be relaxing for us inside of the Mercedes-Benz Dome down there in Atlanta, which would be great.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice? That would be nice, yeah.
It would. Jim, thank you so much for the time. Always a pleasure, and getting ready for the Browns and the Falcons. Game 4 of the 2022 season. The great Jim Donovan, our guest here on CBD. Have a great day, Jim.
You too, Nathan. Take care.
All right. When we come back, we'll hear from one of those running backs that Jim talked about, Kareem Hunt at the podium. And at 2:30, Nick Shook, NFL.com, joining the program here. As, man, time is flying when we're having fun on this Monday edition of Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. All right, welcome back to Cleveland Browns Daily. Elk and Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio for your free case review. Elk and Elk is a proud partner of the Cleveland Browns. Go Browns. All right, let's go back to the podium. Kareem Hunt off to a great start for your Cleveland Browns. He spoke with the media earlier today.
Kareem, I know it's not the
Who's down?
how much can you really recover over the weekend off?
A good amount, especially after playing 2 games in like 10 days. So, it's nice to have a few days not to do anything. So,
It's got to feel pretty good to know you guys already got the win and you can just sit back and watch everybody.
I think that's one of the best things. I'm glad we can get it over with. It sucked that, we get a short week of practice and stuff, but other than that, it's nice to be able to chill on Sunday, too.
Could you feel Pittsburgh getting worn down? The fourth quarter went out, second half?
I mean, yeah, those guys did a good job of, just trying to fit it and plug all the holes and stuff like that. They got to tackle, Chubb and I for 4 quarters. I mean, that got to be pretty, tough on your body.
Has Jacoby done anything special or specific to kind of, gain the confidence of the huddle in the locker room?
You're just being a good leader, man, and making the plays that we need and just coming in and, leading us. And that's what we need, a guy like that who's going to, make the throws and do his part.
I mean, he's been in this spot before in some ways. Was it a pretty natural transition when he started getting in front of the huddle?
Yeah, you can see what type of guy he is. He leads by, going out there and playing hard and, by coaching guys up too. He's been to a lot of different teams and seen a lot of different things too.
What makes him sort of the perfect guy to step in here and kind of try to hold down this fort these 11 games?
I feel like he's a guy who got something to prove too, and he wants to win. And he's a guy who we can just, help take some pressure off him too.
What did you think of that flea flicker screen?
I think it was a good play, but we should have had more. But it's all good.
I was just gonna say when Jacoby pumped his fist after the keeper, it seemed usually you don't see stuff like that out of him. But what did that say?
He was fired up, man. I love seeing that when he playing with that fire under him, and it's gonna be hard to beat a guy like that.
So you and Nick are both going airborne a lot this season, it seems. Do you guys have some kind of do you have a discussion about that at all, or are you guys kind of trying to outdo each other with any of that?
Nah, he took that out my playbook, but it's all good. Nah, I'm just messing with him, though. Nick's a heck of a, tailback. He can do that stuff, too. So, I love to see when he does it. That's, it gets me pumped and excited.
You have led the league in rushing before. Nick has leading it. The team is leading the league in team rushing. Are these goals that everyone talks about?
Yeah, I guess that's, individual goals for us. But like I said, Nick should have led the league already, I believe. It was like 2 years ago, I feel like he had it. But there was a 200-yard game from Derrick Henry. So, Nick, he deserved it. He brings it every time he touches the field. And, I like having a guy like that on my team.
30.
Yeah, definitely. That'll definitely help.
How much of those really long drives that you guys go on, it's become a consistent thing here where you're putting together those 10, 11, 12 play drives. Just how much fun are those as you walking the ball down the field the way you guys do?
It's very fun because that helps us get more swings at the, plate. It helps us put points on the board and keep the, defense fresh and stuff like that. Time of, taking care of the ball, time of possession.
You're up.
All right, that's Browns running back Kareem Hunt there at the podium. When we come back, good friend of the show, Nick Shook from NFL.com. He joins us when we come back, bottom of the hour here. 30 minutes to go. Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. OBM, the official printer partner of the Cleveland Browns. While you depend on your Browns to win, you can always depend on OBM because we can tackle any size office. Call 216-485-2000 to learn more or visit ohiobusinessmachines.com today. Back to the Twisted Tea hotline we go, and we welcome in from NFL.com, great friend of the program, newly minted fiancé, Nick Shook. What's up, Nick Shook?
What's up, man? How are you?
Dude, how are you? How's fiancé life going? Congratulations to you and your bride. What a treat.
Thank you, sir. It's going to be a while before the wedding. She's got some school to finish, but it's fantastic. You know, it's a long time coming. I'm sure you understand exactly how it feels.
That's right. No, absolutely. And we are very happy for you. Before we get into the Browns and we get into the NFL, I do have to ask you about one question. On Instagram, your profile photo, you're looking jacked, bro. Is that recent? What's going on there?
No, that's super old. That's like, that's from, I think, 2016 or 17. I haven't changed that in ages.
Why would you? You're looking like an absolute monster in your Cleveland Guardians gear now.
My dad told my dad told me to take he was taking a picture of me when I was visiting home from LA, and he said, flex. And I said, okay. You know, when your dad tells you to flex, you flex.
All right, there it is. Beautiful, beautiful. Let's talk Browns 2-1. Browns absolutely feel like they should be 3-0. We know what happened against the Jets was not good, but what did you make of their ability to bounce back and be led by Jacoby Brissett to a big win over the Steelers?
Well, thank God for a short week, right? I mean,
yes. If
there was ever a time to have a Thursday night game, it's coming off of that collapse in week 2. I mean, they could very easily be 3-0. Unfortunately, they could very easily be 1-2 right now as well because of the margin of victory, how close it's been in these games. Because if you look at the Steeler game, 29-17 was the final, but it's really 23-17. But you have to feel good about the fact that you're 2-1. You're 2-1, and Jacoby Brissett has played very good football at a difficult position and in a difficult situation the last 2 games. I mean, I don't think that I still in my mind think that they should have beaten the Jets, and they could be 3-0 right now. So if you count that in, I mean, they don't get in that position without the way that Brissett has played in the last 2 games, and especially on Thursday night. He came up in the clutch in multiple instances. There was the handful of sneaks he had on 4th and 1. The last one I thought was fantastic, where he slid over a gap because he knew that they were going to be filling the A gap. That was just a savvy veteran move. And the other point really is the execution of well-timed play calling. That 3rd and 1 throw to Amari Cooper over the middle. A great call by Kevin Stefanski and a great job of Brissett executing it to perfection. The only thing he could have done better on that play was lead the ball a little bit in front of Amari Cooper, because if he did that, it probably would have been a touchdown. But it still paid off. So you have to feel really good about the way he's handled this situation. He's looking better than he has probably since he filled in for Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. He's exactly what you expected or what you hoped for when you signed him in the offseason. So you have to be really happy about that. You also have to be very happy about the way the offensive line and the ground game has been working. They have been able to control every game they've been in to this point because of the rushing attack, whether it's been Nick Chubb leading the way, Kareem Hunt sprinkled in. It's a powerful attack. It's built with that offensive line, that Bill Callahan offensive line that has blocked really well. Even with guys missing at tackle, they've still played really well to this point. So you have to be encouraged by what you've seen from your offense. You've gotten 30 points in week 2. You got 26 in week 1. You got 29 in week 3. Those are winning totals. And that's not what we expected, I think, from this team going into the season. So you have to feel good about it. Now, you and I both know the gauntlet starts in about a week. You get past Atlanta, and you got quite a tough schedule ahead. But again, this is a team that's built to be able to control the game and stay in those games as long as they avoid the back-breaking mistakes, which they have really not committed to this point. So you have to be excited.
Yeah, and right now we're kind of looking at a situation where the Chargers, we saw they just lost Rashawn Slater. Justin Herbert's banged up. Bosa's banged up. We don't know if the Patriots are going to have Mac Jones by the time they get here. So an ever-evolving NFL landscape, but also true for the Browns, who lose Anthony Walker and what I think was a big, big loss there. But I want to go back to something you talked about with this Browns offense. Jacoby's doing a great job, but what's your assessment of just kind of the scheme and the play calling right now of Kevin Stefanski? Because from where I sit, I feel like he's on a little bit of a heater right now.
Yeah, he's definitely on a heater. The involvement of Amari Cooper in the last 2 weeks has been a great example of that. Amari was kind of a non-factor in week 1. They were able to win that game, but you wondered, when is he going to get involved? And he's been a huge part of the offense the last 2 weeks. They've schemed him open. They schemed him open on touchdown passes that he caught in the last couple of games, and he's become a very productive and important part of this offense. you know that you don't have the highest ceiling with Jacoby in the way that he, just is physically gifted as a quarterback.
Sure.
But they've maximized that because of the way that they've taken advantage of Amari Cooper's skills, especially down distance situations. The other thing I really loved is the role that David Njoku has played. He was a huge part of that win on Thursday night. I kept waiting for the Steelers to go into halftime and adjust and slide Minkah down and try and pick off one of those passes. And Minkah was a non-factor. And I think a lot of that is credit to both Jacoby being able to identify where he is before the snap and also Kevin Stefanski scheming him out of the game, avoiding going to wherever Minkah was and trusting that his veteran quarterback would be able to execute. So I really love that. The ground game is what you expect. I've also loved, sprinkling in a little bit of, Anthony Schwartz around the edge every once in a while, trying to get him involved as much as possible, considering the fact that he's still inexperienced as a receiver. So, this is not the most talented offense, at least at receiver, but you have really taken advantage of the weapons that you have. Of course, that starts with Nick Chubb. And he's definitely been on the heater, I think, in the last 2 weeks.
All right, from one team, maybe not the most talented at wide receiver in the NFL either, but also 2-1, and they've scored 99 points in their 3 games. The Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson bet on himself, and right now it looks like he's holding a lottery ticket. He's been sensational. What do you make of this Ravens team, and is this sustainable, what we're seeing right now with Lamar?
I think, yes, I do. And the reason is Greg Roman. You want to talk about somebody who's been on a heater. Greg Roman's been on a heater as an offensive coordinator because we know the narrative has been surrounding the Ravens the last couple of years. They're predictable. They're a great running team, but they can't throw the football. Well, they're throwing the football, my friend. They're putting it all over the field. Lamar Jackson throwing from the pocket really effectively and showing off that arm. Now, is he perfect when it comes to accuracy? No. He misses some throws. He makes a mistake here and there. But more often than not, he has been very good from the pocket and also extending the play, which we always expected from him. The other important part of that offense is the development of the receivers. Devin Duvernay had a heck of a day yesterday against the Patriots, and Rashad Bateman is starting to live up to the hype that we all heard about going into last season. So those two guys have stepped up. You know what you get out of Mark Andrews, who's an elite tight end, and you combine all of that with Lamar's ability and then the ground game kind of getting going. I'm sure you're on the same page with me here. One guy I really love in their backfield is Justice Hill. Man, he's a smaller back, but he is explosive.
Yep.
They don't run him a lot. But when they do, man, I love watching them run the football. So you combine him with Dobbins, who's just making his way back from his own injury that he suffered last year. Nice little 1-2 punch in the running element of Lamar. They got a lot of different ways they can go about attacking an opposing defense, and they're going to continue to put up points. The only question is can they avoid the mistakes that they've made that have allowed the other teams to stay in games? Miami was capitalizing in week 2, and they came back and won that game. New England had multiple chances to take the lead in that game yesterday and just didn't execute. So I think that a lot of their games are going to be close, but they are going to put up a lot of points. We'll see if their defense can follow suit.
Yeah, it does feel like that. If there is an Achilles heel right now, it is that defense, and New England really could run the ball all over them. So through a Browns lens, you feel pretty positive about that aspect. The Bengals finally got their first win yesterday as we stay here in the AFC North, and a team that was just too talented to stay down for long, but something just still doesn't quite look right with them to me. What about you?
It starts with their offensive line. We talked about the sacks in the first couple of weeks in the season this year. I think he was sacked 13 or 15 times. 15 times dating back to the playoffs last year. And I think it was their last 4 games or something like that. That was the thing that they supposedly upgraded in the offseason. They went and got La'el Collins at right tackle. They addressed the interior. Everything was fine. And then they ended up playing a rookie at left guard to start the season, and he's been exposed in the first 2 games. And I haven't been able to go back and watch yesterday's game yet, but I can tell you from the first 2 games that I saw from them, La'el Collins has not lived up to the advertising. He got absolutely owned by his former teammate Micah Parsons in week 2, who also dominated Jonah Williams off the edge because Parsons is just a menace. But that's got to get together. You got to protect him efficiently and effectively, consistently enough to allow that offense to really thrive. You give credit to Joe Burrow for trying to make the most of the situation. He had a terrible start to the season against Pittsburgh in week 1. He was a little bit better against Dallas, and they finally get the win yesterday. So I think they get back on track over time. It's just that it's not as easy as you expect. And we also know that what happens to teams that lose the Super Bowl, they tend to have a little bit of a slump in the following season. A lot of them don't even make the playoffs. It's going to be a tough road back to the playoffs for the Bengals, not just because they're 1-2 after 3 games, but because the AFC is loaded. And I think they're going to run into a couple of really tough teams in Baltimore and, surprisingly, Cleveland. Now, when they play the Browns still got to get that defense in order. I know they got it in order in the second half against Pittsburgh, but that's not quite the litmus test that you want to measure yourself up against a true contender. So that's going to be a work in progress. But if the Browns can control the game on the ground as they've done in their first 3 games. Now, granted, that's week 8. We're talking about Halloween. That's
Sure.
a little bit of ways away. Then they're going to have a shot in that game, I think. So interesting to see where the Bengals go from here. Rough start. If they can get that offensive line figured out as they were supposed to, then I think they'll be back to where they were. But man, nothing is guaranteed in this league. You know, that's what makes my job so difficult. Is I'm picking games every week, and people love to come at me on Twitter and be like, "Hey, you screwed this pick up. Oh, you had the Chiefs beating the Colts. You had the Chargers beating the Jags. What did you do? You screwed up." It's like, well, this league's pretty unpredictable. Just when you think you know a little bit, suddenly you realize you don't know anything at all. So week 8 is a long way from now. Hopefully the Browns can stay healthy and give a good shot against the Bengals.
Yeah, it is a long season, and yes, it is an unpredictable league, that's for sure. All right, final team here in the AFC North, the Steelers at 1-2. It just looks to me like at some point they've got to make a change at quarterback. Will that be the answer? I don't know, because their schedule right now, Nick, is about to get brutal. You talked about the gauntlet the Browns have starting week 5. The Steelers are in the midst of it right now.
Yeah, well, first off, Steve, let me tell you this. For a city that is home to fans, that in which a team known as the Pittsburgh Pirates also exists, I am stunned by how many Steeler fans, at least online, are already throwing in the towel this year. Because, like, you guys know what bad organization looks like in your baseball team, and yet the Steelers, which are the opposite of that, have been the opposite of that for so long. You're already going to give up just because you're 1-2 after 3 weeks, and I saw somebody tweet, I think it was one of the radio guys out in Pittsburgh, say, if they lose to the Jets, they're guaranteed a losing season. And then, is that because the schedule gets really tough? Yeah, Buffalo, Tampa, Miami, Philadelphia, 5 weeks, and you get New Orleans, who I'm not so certain about, and then the Bengals. You could lose all of those games if you don't beat the Jets. You could be staring at a bad situation. But, guys, let's not, declare the end of the world already. There's still so much of the season left, and you're the Steelers. What I also have come to realize is that Steelers fans have a little bit of entitlement with them. One of my good friends, Sean Berry, works down in Tampa at Fox 13. He's a lifelong Steeler fan, and he's convinced that it's time to go to Kenny Pickett, and Kenny Pickett's going to work out no matter what. And I think Kenny Pickett could be good. I liked what I saw from him in the preseason, but the problems with them start up front. Their offensive line is not blocking well enough to run the football effectively. And they ran it pretty effectively against the Browns on Thursday night in the first half of that game, and then just went away from it. And so it's inconsistency up front. It's a low ceiling with Mitch Trubisky, but I don't know if you put Pickett in there and that ceiling suddenly gets higher. Is he maybe a better quarterback? Yeah, but if you can't protect him, a rookie in an NFL regular season environment, you're not really going to get much better results from that. So they're definitely looking at a tough spot, but I don't think it's time to necessarily just say that the season's a wash. They're going to have to win in week 4. They're going to have to find a way to be competitive in that next month, which is a legitimate gauntlet. Those are all Super Bowl contenders from how we stand right now. And I think it's a little bit early to throw Pickett in there unless you're already throwing in the towel. I still think it's the bye week. You put him in against New Orleans, week 10, and you ride out the season from there, especially if you lose 4 of your next 5 and you're looking at, 2-6 going into the bye week. Then you make the change. But for now, I think you keep riding with it. You try to get a win, get back to 2-2, and see what happens from there.
All right, I'm going to give you 4 10-second clips of things that I saw yesterday that I would like you to rank in whatever order you want. You rank them from like what you thought was either the craziest or most awesome, whatever lens Nick Shook wants to look at these 4 things that happened yesterday. Number 1,
all right,
the butt punt. Number 2, Jimmy Garoppolo runs out of the back of the end zone. Number 3, Ken Dorsey's reaction to the final offensive play between the Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. And then one that is actually more stupefying perhaps than any of the others. Vita Vea drops in coverage, hits a zone drop, closes on a ball carrier, 350 pounds, crushes him in the back, and forces a fumble as a defensive tackle.
Okay, let's go with shock value and just overall enjoyment. Number 1 is Vita Vea because when Vita Vea was coming into the NFL, he talked about how he used to play a little running back in high school and how he was nice with it, right?
Yep.
But to see that guy who is built like a square, not a rectangle, drop back in coverage and make a key play in that game, that was just fantastic. And you know me, I love the guys in the trenches.
Of course,
I'm putting that number 1 for enjoyment.
Okay.
Number 2 for enjoyment is the butt punt because I think we finally have something that overtakes the butt fumble.
Indeed.
And the moment in which it happened was huge, absolutely massive. It's a 4-point difference. It's cut down to 2, and Buffalo has a chance to go down and potentially win the game. Obviously they don't, which leads us to number 3, Ken Dorsey's reaction. Enjoyment because it was appropriate for what had happened. This is a team that was putting up a ton of points. Nobody could stop them. You know, I do a little Twitch streaming on the side, and I'm talking with some of the viewers, and I'm saying, hey, what do you got, Buffalo, Miami this weekend? Buffalo by 2 touchdowns. No one can stop them. I picked Miami as one of my underdogs this week. I was stunned by the fact that everybody believed that they were untouchable, and I think that's exactly how Ken Dorsey should have reacted. And number 4, Jimmy Garoppolo stepping out of the back of the end zone. Still very, very fun to watch. You know, I enjoyed it a lot, but it still doesn't hold a candle to Dan Orlovsky running out of the back of the end zone. However, he does get some company in that he's not the only quarterback to do that now. Kind of a bummer, and really captured what that game was last night, which was a bit of a clunker.
Yeah, Dan Orlovsky really celebrated that. He was just leaning all into this absolves me. And I believe we had, Gibbe, correct me if I'm wrong, and Shook, it may have been in the Shook era. Didn't Cody Kessler in a preseason game, I want to say in Green Bay, he did it as well. Didn't get nearly the attention that the 2 other instances obviously got with Orlovsky and Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, that was good there, Nick Shook. That was good. I'll leave you with this one. Just give us 2 sentences or 2 seconds here, what you think about the Falcons, and should the Browns be able to go down to Atlanta and get the job done?
Yeah, I think the Browns can go down there and get the job done. They control it with the ground game again, and they force Marcus Mariota to make a couple of mistakes. They're going to have a tough task defending Drake London and Kyle Pitts, but I think they're up to it. And I think, again, they'll control it by controlling time of possession, limiting mistakes, and come out of there with a 3-1 record.
And there it is. Nick Shook. Always a pleasure, brother. Thanks for stopping by.
Thanks, guys.
All right, the great Nick Shook there joining us via the Twisted Tea Hotline. Still so much more to come when we return here on Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Browns fans can win big with the digital scratch-off game brought to you by the Ohio Lottery on clevelandbrowns.com and Browns social channels. Fans can play once per day throughout the regular season by digitally scratching off a virtual card for chances to win great prizes like Team Shop gift cards and tickets to future games. For more information, log on to clevelandbrowns.com. That sounds like a lot of fun.
I'm in.
Yeah, are we allowed to be in?
No, probably not.
Probably not. Sad.
Probably not.
I would be in, though.
Sounds fun.
I would be in. All right, we got one more score, and you got a little news from the Tampa Bay.
Yeah, this is from Rick Stroud, one of the beat guys down there. The Bucs working with the NFL to make contingency plans to possibly move Sunday night's game against the Chiefs and or make arrangements to practice in another city Wednesday and Thursday should Hurricane Ian make landfall near Tampa. Something to watch. They are the Sunday night game. It is going to be a really good game. And this hurricane, who knows what's going to happen. It's early in the week. It's only Monday, and a lot can change over the next 24 to 48 hours. But all indications are this is going to come up and might even impact us a little bit come Sunday or Saturday getting into Atlanta at least. So you jinx that by telling Donovan that.
I hope. I was trying to reverse jinx it.
It was not working, I don't feel like.
No, it was going to be
not with him.
He clearly had thought about it before because his reaction said, oh, boy, doesn't want any part of that. Listen, I don't either. All right, we got one score here to round out the week. The Giants at the Cowboys, Gibbe.
The 2-0 Giants battling the 1-1 Dallas Cowboys
with Cooper
a new
Rush.
Fresh quarterback.
I don't know. I'm going to take the G-men here. I think that they get to 3-0, and Brian Daboll pulls off one of the most shocking starts in the league in 2022.
You got nothing to lose. Pull out all the stops.
Yeah.
Because they're not banking on you.
No, go for it. Enjoy yourselves. Want to thank Nick Shook and Jim Donovan for being with us here today, as well as our great all the players that joined the program.
Connor Lawrence.
Connor Lawrence.
Connor taking care of that.
Just getting it done. Way to go. Esteban. Bravo. For the great Gibbe. Nathan Zgura, Bo will be back tomorrow. The next level is next. Thanks for listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland.